Have you ever stopped to think about something strange about money that almost no one talks about out loud? How can someone work every day, wake up early, stay busy all day, come home exhausted, and still feel like the money simply disappears? How can someone receive a paycheck regularly and still live with that constant feeling of financial pressure? That quiet feeling that just one small surprise, a car problem, an unexpected medical bill, a repair in the house could make everything spiral out of control. And let me ask you a very honest question right now. Something many people feel but almost never admit. Have you ever noticed that sometimes a little more money even comes in, but the feeling of relief doesn't last long? Maybe a small bonus comes in, some overtime hours, or even a raise. For a few days, it feels like things might get better. You breathe a little easier. You might even think that now you'll finally be able to get more organized, but then, almost without noticing, the expenses start to appear. The credit card bill arrives. The subscriptions keep getting charged automatically. The car insurance is due. The rent or the mortgage shows up again. And before you realize it, everything is back exactly where it was before, as if there were an invisible hole where the money simply slips away. And this is an extremely common feeling, especially for people who live paycheck to paycheck. That reality where the next payment doesn't represent progress. It only represents survival. The paycheck arrives, and immediately there is already a list of things waiting for it. Bills, debts, purchases made weeks ago, expenses that seemed small at the time, but now pile up all at once. And when the money finally hits the account, it already has a destination before you even take a breath. It doesn't create freedom. It only keeps things running for a few more weeks. And the most curious part is that most of the time, the problem isn't just how much money you earn. Many people believe the solution to financial stress is simply earning more. And of course, earning more can help. But there's something many people discover too late. If the financial behavior stays exactly the same, earning more money often only increases the size of the problems because the new money comes in, but the decision pattern stays the same. The real problem almost always lies in the small financial decisions that happen every single day. Decisions so small that they go unnoticed. Ordering food after a long day at work, buying a coffee while rushing in the morning, a streaming subscription that costs just a few dollars per month, a product that showed up in an online sale and looked too cheap to ignore. Individually, none of these decisions seem capable of causing a financial problem. In fact, many of them even feel deserved. Small rewards after a difficult day, small comforts that make the routine a little more bearable. The problem is that money rarely disappears in one big decision. It disappears in dozens of small decisions that repeat continuously. This is what many experts call an invisible financial leak. It's not a big rupture. It's a constant drip. And when this dripping happens every day for weeks and months, it creates a quiet pattern where money comes in and goes out without leaving any sense of progress. You work hard, fulfill your responsibilities, pay your bills, but your financial life always seems stuck in the same place. And the hardest part of all this is that almost no one teaches how to deal with money in a practical way. In school, you learn math, history, science, you learn important things, but you rarely learn how to organize your own financial life. Few people learn how to build financial stability step by step. Many families also avoid this subject, whether out of shame, fear, or simply not knowing how to explain it. So many people grow up believing that living under financial pressure is normal, that working hard and still always feeling worried about money is simply part of adult life. But there is a truth that completely changes this story when someone finally realizes it. The financial life of most people doesn't change when they start earning more money. It changes when they start following a few simple rules that organize their behavior with money. Rules that don't require complicated spreadsheets, don't require complex calculations, don't require you to become an investing expert overnight. In fact, many times these rules require only something that seems simple but is extremely powerful: clarity. Because when you start to see money with clarity, something interesting happens. Money starts to stop disappearing. So the constant feeling of pressure begins to decrease. And for the first time, you start to feel like you have some control over your own financial life. And it all begins with an extremely simple rule that most people completely ignore. Never start spending your paycheck before deciding where it actually needs to go. This sounds obvious when you hear it. It even sounds basic, but the reality is that millions of people do exactly the opposite every month. The payment hits the account and the automatic spending begins immediately. Bills are paid. Purchases appear on the card. Small expenses happen without much reflection. Subscriptions are charged automatically, and when the person finally looks at the remaining balance, a large part of the money has already disappeared. Not because they are irresponsible, not because they don't work hard, but because when money doesn't ERV plan, it always finds a way to leave. Think of money like energy. If you don't direct that energy, it naturally disperses. And that's exactly why the second rule completely changes the way money works in your life. Before spending any dollar, you need to decide 3 destinations for it. The first destination is survival. This is the money that keeps your life running day to day. Housing, food, transportation, essential bills. This money supports the foundation of your life. Without it, everything becomes unstable. The second destination is stability. And here is something many people completely ignore until the day a problem appears. Stability means creating a small financial cushion, an emergency fund, not to buy things, not to spend impulsively, but to protect your peace of mind when life inevitably brings surprises. Because life always brings surprises. A problem with the car, a visit to the hospital, an unexpected repair in the house. Without a reserve, any one of these situations can generate intense anxiety. But when there is a small margin of safety, even if it's still small, something changes deeply inside your mind. The problem stops looking like a disaster and becomes just a situation that needs to be solved. The third destination for money is the future. This is perhaps the most ignored of all, because the present always seems more urgent. The bills are immediate. The needs are visible right now. But the money that builds the future is the money that creates freedom. It's the money that allows you to step out of the paycheck to paycheck cycle. It's the money that allows you to make better decisions throughout life, deciding where to live, deciding what job to accept, deciding when to slow down. The problem is that many people use practically all their income just to survive. And when something is left over, it disappears quickly in small, everyday decisions. Small rewards after difficult days. Small, impulsive expenses. Small luxuries that seem completely justifiable at that moment. And there is nothing wrong with wanting comfort. The problem appears when today's comfort creates tomorrow's financial pressure. That's why there is an extremely powerful rule that completely changes the way people build financial stability. Never wait for money to be left over to save, because almost nothing is ever left over. What really works is doing the opposite. Save first. Even if the amount is small, even if it seems insignificant at the beginning, because what builds financial security is not only the size of the amount you save, it's the habit you build by doing it repeatedly. There is also another very common silent mistake in modern life. Expenses that turn into permanent commitments, subscriptions, installment payments, automatic payments, small amounts that seem harmless when seen individually. But when several of these commitments start to accumulate, a large part of your income is already committed before you even start the month. This creates a constant feeling of financial pressure because the money arrives, but it already has an owner. And there is a simple rule that protects you from many impulsive decisions. If you can't buy it twice, think twice before buying it once. This rule creates a small space between desire and decision, and that small space can prevent many financial regrets. Because in the end, money is not only meant to pay bills, money is meant to buy peace of mind. A small emergency fund reduces anxiety, reduces fear, reduces impulsive decisions. Because when you know there is a margin of safety, your mind starts working differently. You think more calmly, you make better decisions, you stop living in survival mode. And when that happens, something very important changes. Financial problems stop looking like constant threats and start looking like logistical challenges that can be solved with planning. Money stops being a constant source of stress and slowly begins to become a tool that works in your favor. If you've made it this far, leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel, because here we talk about money in an honest and real way, without magical promises and without unrealistic shortcuts. And comment below with a word, so I know you watched until the end. Comment the word control. Because the moment you start taking control of your money, you also begin to take back control of your own life.